And having a look at agriculture now, and this is something that has been put forward by the National Farmers Federation. They're talking about, with Agri Futures, an outline for an increase of Australia's agriculture from the current value for the base level, 2016-17, of 63 billion to 100 billion by 2030. Now, I think we're around that 67 billion in this last financial year, so up 4 billion on that base level of 2016-17, but that's a 4-year time period. So the ambitious target is, at this point in time, doesn't look like we're climbing quickly enough, but I guess these sorts of parabolas and all these sorts of things take investment and take time. But this 50% increase in the agriculture sector's contribution to Australia's gross domestic product is required to reach this figure. The ability to attract sufficient capital to support industry consolidation, farm turnover growth, and the growth orientated needed for investment is going to be critical to fuel these growths and to drive this target to make sure that we get upwards each year. Now, the sector has a lot to achieve. There's plenty of potential, but Australia needs to find answers to the key questions in terms of where the capital comes from. And it can't just come from the public sector. I mean, it is ridiculous to say that the governments can continue to put the sorts of post-COVID spending that we've seen into the economy. I mean, there just simply would be too much debt, and the debt that we would be then having to find taxation for would then hamstring agriculture and the private businesses in the same way that the businesses wouldn't themselves be able to put back the extra capital that they may be making from their increased turnovers and so on. So it needs private investment. And there's a report that's been undertaken by the Natural Capital Economics, the NCE. They're exploring the current investment gap by analysing the amount of capital required for the agriculture sector to reach the $100 billion goal. They're highlighting opportunities to attract that investment into the sector. Some of that will come from overseas, some of that will come from the private sector, and then others from 3 tiers of government, largely federal, but some state and some local. Now, there are also alternative avenues with traditional debt and equity finance, and also the situation where we're going to see a lot of publicly listed companies, agricultural companies being publicly listed, farms that have been traditionally privately owned in family situations. Some of those, as they get bigger and bigger, may well take in venture capital and so on, and we'll see more of that happening. But then again, there'll be superannuation funds to put money into agriculture. We're seeing the Canadians and overseas funds like the UK put their money into Australian agriculture to buy big broadacre properties. Why not our own superannuation funds?